Now, we know the coach gets here at 2:40, at 3 o'clock or whatever, some ridiculous time. What time do you get here?
I high five him on the way out. So I'm more of a evening fellow. Sometimes it bleeds into it. I don't know, like it's like you think about your career, and it's like I know how you guys look at it. It's like the days where you're probably writing something, you're really feeling it. You've been putting so much work into it, and it's like the time there's no time. It's just you and you're doing the thing that you love to do. So like there's some days where it's funny. Like I forget to eat. I don't know what time it is. I might have slept an hour or no, and just you're energized from what you do, and and you could be like 2 days without it, and I look like this. Well, fortunately, Zach Miller, who I coached in Chicago, told me you're the only human I've ever met that looks the same, showered and cleaned up as you do for 2 days of looking like a grungy person. So I was like, it's part of my chameleon. So, yeah, Mike's a little morning, but I'm at night, and it's it's fun. When football comes together, it's why you do this.
Right now, I can't tell which one of the two you are.
The greatest illusion right now. I can't give it up. All right, I can't give it up my secret so quickly.
Frank, I talked to River Craycraft yesterday, and he was talking about the role of the blocking receiver in this offense, and he said he watched some film of Mo Sanu from Atlanta. And what is the importance of having a receiver who can block in this offense, and how does River fulfill that role?
Oh, well, I mean, coincidentally, I think it fits into just the criteria of what we're looking at in all positions, like tight ends who have the ability to have a complete skill set. So there's wide receivers that we'll use in different roles, like we use a tight end. So I think it's important for guys to understand, because it's not like Jalen and Tyreek don't block. Like they're very willing to get in the mix too. So it's just for when we use guys in multiple roles, it just comes into what are we seeing from the defense? All right, what are they going to be stressed on, and then having guys with the right makeup and the right skill set. I mean, that's what we're always striving for, because it's like our running backs. Some weeks you're using them to run the football, other times you're using them out in space to block. The only position that really doesn't have a blocking emphasis would be Tua and his crew. All right, but they block in other ways through appropriate keeper fakes and everything. So we're all connected in that sense.
At what point did you, as a coaching staff, kind of view Eric Ezukama as like a possible moonlight running back, kind of in a Debo Samuel role, and what does he kind of bring? What elements does he bring when you line him up there?
I wouldn't say necessarily it's like when did he do that, or is he in that role. It was more of like when we're doing different things with guys throughout training camp. We try and use them in ways that best fit how they can contribute. So obviously, you guys saw the run he had in the preseason, right, coming around the horn. So, with the defense and what they presented, we thought we saw an option to do that. And then at the same time, we also do it with two halfbacks. We do it with, I'm sure at some point you see Alec getting the ball from the gun, like a 11 personnel running back. Ultimately, and we put our receivers in the backfield, running backs, tight ends in the backfield. We use guys in a multitude of ways, because ultimately it's like when you have guys that have a broad skill set of different things, our challenge is to put guys in situations to do what they do well. And, I think the challenge will be continuing to grow in all that.
What's the significance of what I've heard described as for love of the game routes, where maybe you're late in the progression, you might not get the football, but still running at maximum effort to help create space and make the offense function?
Yeah, I think it's when you understand the concept and what we're trying to do and how you fit into the timing of the play and what the defense, what look they gave you. I think it's just the understanding of all routes are live at all time, and when you have a quarterback like Tua who's who distributes the ball so well, the minute that you think that you're not getting the ball, you will. So you have to run everything with intent, right? Because you might think that you're running a vertical, and next thing you know, they drop coverage because we got guys moving different spots. So I think it's just our guys' commitment, and that's why the way we practice is the most important thing, is like trying to make sure it's deliberate and put ourselves in the game, so that way when Sunday or Monday comes, we've already practiced it.
What stands Stands out in the post-game film section after you give up 0 sacks with the O-line against Boza and Mack and those guys.
Comes out and you just see guys that we feel more of like guys who really took their week of practice to the game and, challenging ourselves to, work together because a 0 sack day isn't just necessarily the O-line. It's obviously a collection between the runners, tight ends, quarterback, wide receivers. It's a full offensive commitment, but it's awesome to see our guys, really, excited for game one with the challenge we had to block. So now after you watch the tape, we go, all right, next game, we got to do it again. So
How did Isaiah win the LG1 as we found out?
yeah, I think overall the line did very well for what we were trying to do. Overall, there's obviously things that we need to get better at. Plenty of things overall for the offense that we know where we can grow. Because week 1 to week 2, obviously, that's where you can get your biggest growth. And then for us and the guys and where they're at, it's cool. Like today is going to be awesome, a chance to go out and practice because the mindset downstairs, guys are hungry and ready to work. So it's going to be awesome.
I want to know, what is the difference that you've seen, not just physically, but mentally from Austin Jackson this season?
Again, like we talked about the other week, it's just opportunities. Early in your career, you're over here, you played a different spot in college, right? You move around and then you have injuries. It's just consistency. So it's like offensive line, like everyone's always into result based now. And a lot of guys who they have to come into the league and they grow. Rashawn Slater for him to be a rookie all-pro, that's not the norm. There's a lot of guys it takes, a year or 2 or 3 before they get the consistency and they really understand how they need to play and what they need to play. We all felt it's never been really a confidence thing or anything mentally with AJ. It was more just an opportunity to develop the consistency because, if I think we can all attest, we're not professional golfers. So when we go out and play, that slice we should probably take not as serious as we do, where we think we're going to hit it every time. It's the same thing of okay, you're hurt here, you miss this half the season with that. It's going to come with consistency, and that's why he's really committed with Butch, and it's been awesome.
Every coach with an offensive background who rises to head coach obviously has some level of creativity that helped get them there. But with Mike, obviously, that's one of the things he's known for. Do assistant coaches, including, in your case, the OC, feel an extra, I don't know if the word is incentivized or motivated to present Mike with wrinkles every week that could, catch defenses off guard because of how creative he is?
Interesting question. No, I wouldn't think it's really, you look at it like how creative or what new thing I can do or what will get, he would like this. I think it's more of a starting point is you start with the defense and how do they play, what techniques do they use. The starting point is always your opponent, and you're looking at what's their philosophy and how do they play. So, Mike laughs at me sometimes when I'll bring up a play that there's no one moving and we just line up and do this, and he looks at me and I'm like, because it works. And it's and we have those in our game plan where we, line up and do different things where we don't move as much. I think ultimately when you're bringing up plays, it's about what's the intent, what's the process to it, and it always starts with your opponent, and then how do they play, what's their style of defense, what are they trying to do, and then now you build in that with your people and how do you move them to deploy them correctly.
Where does the Devon A-Chain stand right now with offensive coaches?
Awesome. I don't think there's really any guy right now that we're sitting there going he needs to do this. It's it's a long season. Our opportunities will come. Game 1, we have zero reservation about his ability to help us any game this season.
Regarding plays, how much of your time is, maybe that's not the right way to phrase it, thinking up new plays, and what's the process for you of coming up with new plays?
I don't really know if it's I think we spend our time more of, how are our guys progressing and what do we need to do to help them within the framework or the techniques they need, and who's the opponent we're facing and how do we go through it, because It's like if every week you have a game plan of 40 new plays you saw someone else run because it worked, you're always then chasing results, as opposed to, for us, we have core concepts that we've executed since the spring, and it's our ability to execute on core things, because then that way you have the consistency. So I think the majority of our time is spent on how do we help our group improve, like what do we need to do in our week of practice, and then how do we continue to maintain our core philosophy and build upon it. And the season goes, you just kind of want to always be tightening and tightening and tightening and tightening. You're getting better at the details and stuff like that, not creating more stuff. It's just centralizing and knowing what you do. And I think the first half of the season, I think we talked about that last year. The first half of your season, you spend really, who are we, what do we do, what are we going, and the faster you can get to that, the faster you're going to know what your identity is and what you're going to be successful at the rest of the season.
What are some nuances of playing tight end in this offense that Gesicki's best friend, Dorm Smythe.
The dramatic pause in the room was fantastic. It's like, all you missed was the dun dun dun.
I wanted to say something nice about Smythe and I messed it up.
Yeah.
What are some nuances of
I mean,
playing tight
you can't. I mean, he spells it. I mean, he's trying to spell Smith and he just screwed it up. So you had to add a Y.
Some nuances of playing tight end in this offense that have allowed Smythe to become a target worthy of 7, you know what I mean? There's 7 targets, an individual worthy of 7 targets, which would, I know you weren't here, but that would not have been in the thought process when he was a rookie, for example.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's, I mean, if you guys watched how he practiced, you wouldn't be surprised on Sunday, because, again, it's about the work you put in. And, I mean, the one thing about him, and after coaching tight ends for 6 years, I mean, He's what you're looking for in the mindset, the makeup, how he goes approaching it. He's a detail-oriented guy. He does everything the right way. As the season goes, and he's a pro. He's available, and he knows the intent of the concept, and he understands the timing in which he needs to be there, and he recognizes defense very well. I think, like we talked about with tight ends, you have guys with skill sets that can block, and though he's the blocker, well, the blocker catches too. So I think ultimately, when you say he's this or he's that, you create an absolute. I mean, that's not anything to what we do, as opposed to like the question we just talked about. We're going to use our offensive personnel in the best manner we can, right, to use their complete skill sets to attack the defense. So saying a guy does one thing would be inaccurate. Like, we're going to, throughout the course of the season, use their skill set to whatever we need to do to find a way to win.
Along the lines of Durham, I just remembered you guys had him in orbit motion on one play, and usually I feel like that's reserved for like kind of like a speedy, fast guy. But just I don't know. I don't know if you can give state secrets, but just like what was the reasoning behind that? Just
It's a state secret, man. You move them around. Where is he going? What was the complimentary play? I don't know. You only saw one version. All right. So I mean, it's the reasons why we move people the way we do, I wouldn't say it's state secrets, but I mean, we have a purpose for everything what we do. We just don't, like, when coaches would say, hey, that's window dressing, that movement, like, that's not the way we operate. We move people for a reason. Everything is for our attack of the defense. Whenever we move someone one way, we have a complementary play for another reason. So our job is to see the defense, what do they present, attack it with our personnel, and be unrelenting in our approach. And you might move different people at different times. But
That motion, you guys do a lot of effective motion. What are maybe the difficulties or intricacies we don't see while teaching that motion?
effective motioning, what do you mean?
Like, it works.
Oh,
Like-
you mean like it's effective?
Like, it's effective,
Oh, yeah. How's like effective? Well, someone says something the other day, I'm like, what? Oh, and because the translation of how we move sometimes, it gets like, I just got to figure it out. Well, I mean, when you try and motion just on Sundays, it's, what are the variables? But that's how we practice. That's how we play. Everything we do is with intent, and we, as you guys see when you watch us through all the off-season training camp and the preseason, all right, we motion with a purpose. We just don't do it to do it. We do it with an intent to get a reaction out of the defense. So, and then when we don't get the reaction out of the defense that we were anticipating, that's where we have to figure out why and and maybe is that good, or how is that going to be challenging to the complementary plays that are off of things. So I think it's just the way we practice, and the guys own it and they understand why we do it. So that's why they do it so well, and then the quarterback's used to it. I think when we don't move sometimes is when they're all just like, that's it? And like, yeah. Yeah, sorry. Don't worry, we'll get you on the next play.